It's been 30 years since Knuckles the Echidna made his grand debut in Sonic 3, and now Paramount Plus is finally giving a show to our favorite warrior, Wade Whipple.
I have an incredibly dumb idea.
And yeah, Knuckles is there too. This is Knuckles the series, Good to Evil. Now remember, true strength comes from the heart. These characters are the good. And what's any hero without their wise old mentor, Chief Pakakamak? The chief here goes above and beyond for his people, and even his people's friends. Knuckles has no trouble contacting him via meditation to seek his guidance, at which point it's revealed that the chief trained Knuckles himself before anyone else saw his potential. Being that Knux is the last of the Echidna tribe, he wants to pass their traditions down to an apprentice, so the flame won't die out.
He may not look like much, but he's special.
What really cements Chief Pac-Man Machine as our most good character is the fact that he not only trained Knuckles and is still willing to offer him advice from beyond the grave, but he does the same for his apprentice Wade. It's impressive enough to be a good teacher, but to still be one when you're straight up dead is a whole new level of pure-hearted heroism. But the next warrior is no less pure of heart, Wade Whipple. While public opinion on this guy is split due to him having as much, if not more, focus than Knuckles in the latter's own series, there's no denying that Wade is still a fun character and an all-around swell guy. Wade is friendly and open-minded, befriending Knuckles pretty much immediately and having a genuinely caring and trustworthy nature. Even in the heat of combat with Mason, he's willing to help him answer a call from his mother. So the guy is even pretty nice to his enemies until he needs to not be.
Yeah, that's just a work friend.
Oh, you think we're friends?
But while it's far from a moral issue, Wade is definitely way more forgiving and trusting than he should be. It's definitely sweet that he was so quick to forgive his dad for abandoning him, for a shoddy reason too. But as we say, from how that turned out, being too trusting can cause trouble. While he's a total sweetheart, we're gonna have to give Wade the Darwin Sinner Medal as a result of his naivete. We almost had to take points away in episode 5 when he appeared to have betrayed Knuckles to Willoughby and Mason, but it turns out that he was quick thinking enough to finesse them into unloading onto a decoy and giving Knuckles just the opening he needed for a sneak attack. The only thing we can definitely take points away from Wade for is the fact that he seemingly had no problem with Wanda being killed by her kidnappers, only showing concern when his mother was in danger. I mean, Wanda isn't Sister of the Year or anything, but come on, letting her get shot is a bit far. But now we're gonna give the Bronze Medal of Good to the main hero himself, as Knuckles will be flying, or gliding, into our next spot. Knuckles is the embodiment of a chaotic good character. Now, we've said that before on this channel, but Knuckles is one of the most blatant examples. He plays by his own set of rules, often leading to some unnecessary destruction, but he always means well. For example, he'll protect the Wachowski household no matter the price, even if it means injuring some innocent construction workers. Even at the beginning of the series, before Knuckles quite feels at home on Earth, there's already a strong sense of loyalty to whatever cause he's committed himself to. But what really cements his position here is his friendship with Wade. Despite Wade being a total goofball, Knuckles is willing to train him to be a carrier of the Echidna tribe's cultures by helping him discover his inner strength.
Our destiny awaits Wade Whipple. Do we have an alliance?
Sure, he's reckless, given that one of his favorite hobbies is vengeance, and he'll casually toss around barbells like they're pillows. But at the end of the day, Knuckles is a kind warrior who cares about his friends and is more than happy to protect them in battle. But for his love of very specific snacks, we're giving Knuckles the Gluttony Medal, and hopefully one day he'll be able to visit that cool ranch of Doritos. Next, we have the honorable matriarch of the Whipple clan, Wendy Whipple. You gotta feel for Wendy, to be honest. All she wants is to have a nice Shabbat dinner with her kids, but it just always ends up with one of them stabbing the other. You know, family problems.
Go to my room.
At the end of the day, Mother Whipple is a caring parent who just wants her kids to be happy and love each other. When she notices Wade reuniting with his dad, she warns him due to a fear of him getting hurt, showing her maternal instincts on full display. Sonic is up next. While he only appears in the first episode, we get a good idea of how much he's matured during his time on Earth. Even after Knuckles gets Maddie into legal trouble after roughing up those construction workers, he's able to talk her into being understanding of the guy since he's just getting used to his new home.
It wasn't easy for me to understand this planet at first either.
He doesn't do much in the show for obvious reasons, but we see that he's a good friend and a decent guy all around. And he's also, saved the world twice now, so there's that little detail. But I guess we'll keep him ranked here to stay specific to the Knuckles series. Next up, we have the legendary Pretzel Woman, aka Maddie. She has even less prominence than Sonic, but we have to mention her regardless for the simple reason that this woman has the patience of a saint. Knuckles recklessly beat up several construction workers, one of whom threatened legal action, and later on he built a throne out of broken parts of her car.
Good morning, Pretzel Woman.
The fact that Maddie's only punishment for this is a grounding is seriously a show of impressive patience. And rounding out our fully good category, we have our pal Tails. He also only appears in the very first episode, and he's there. He certainly appears in the episode, that much is for sure. Tails is a nice guy, and despite his lack of saying more than 3 sentences total in the series, we certainly can't rank him anywhere below good tier. Now, before we get to our true threats of the series, let's take a quick detour to the gray area. And kicking off this category is the youngest member of the ensemble cast, Susie. Seemingly your typical bratty kid, Susie is one of Wade's bowling rivals, taunting and distracting him in the first match of the show.
I wouldn't insult you if you weren't such a freaking loser.
Later on, after she ends up joining Jack's team for the championship, she implies that she's completely cool with Wade killing him, in theory. And while Jack is a bad guy, that's maybe a bit of a harsh judgment. That said, she does show some decency later on. She empathizes with Wade's poor relationship with his dad in the last episode, and even bowls with him once Jack is effectively down for the count. And closing out our short gray area is Wade's sister, Wanda Whipple. She's an FBI agent who's been shown to bully Wade since childhood and takes her sense of extreme superiority into adulthood. Their relationship is toxic enough to where Wade isn't concerned for her when she's kidnapped at gunpoint.
Do whatever you gotta do to her.
Are you kidding me right now?
And given how consistently mean she is to him, going as far as stabbing him at the dinner table, it's not hard to see why. She's not even able to let go of her ego when lives are on the line, preferring to taunt one of the thugs rather than using her supposed FBI skills to fight him. She definitely earns the Pride Center Medal for this type of behavior. But while she is definitely a bully, she isn't anywhere near a downright evil person. She's extremely prideful and reckless, but when it comes down to it, she's always there for Wade and Wendy, and even Knuckles actually saving his butt in the final battle by lending him the gauntlets taken from Mason and Willoughby. And honestly, the "we thought you might need a hand" line was actually a pretty good line.
We thought you could use a hand.
God, that was a good line.
In fact, just enough to keep her out of our final category. These characters are the bad and the evil. Starting off this category is the least evil of the series' antagonists, Agent Willoughby. From her very first appearance in the show, it's shocking to not see her any lower. Her very first action is to betray Agent fairly by shoving him into the mushroom dimension so that she can work with Mason to kidnap Knuckles for the sake of selling his power. Now, we do have to give good old psychotic Uma Thurman some credit because, if nothing else, she did have some level of good intentions at some point. When she worked for Gunn, she warned them of the dangers of keeping Sonic and the gang on Earth, but she was punished and demoted as a result, leaving her with a serious grudge against the organization.
But instead of listening, I was the one who was neutralized.
But at the same time, you're kind of selling one of said aliens' power to a psychotic weapons dealer. If nothing else, Willoughby just seemed like she wanted to survive, rather than outright hurt anyone, which at least makes her less evil than the remainder of antagonists. The same can't be said for her partner in literal crime, Agent Mason. Played by Kid Cudi, who honestly gave one of the best performances in the series, Mason is the brawn to Willoughby's brains. By his own admission, he joined Gunn just so he'd have an excuse to beat up the aliens and get paid for it, a motive that gives him the Wrath Center medal. But if a human gets in his way, he's not opposed to roughing them up either. Mason is undoubtedly worse than Willoughby for the simple reason that when the two were in danger of being sucked into the mushroom dimension, he refused to help her. This might have been excusable since he was in a sucky situation himself, but then he straight up laughed when his presumable friend was sucked in. Thankfully, he followed right after, and hopefully they both get a nice earful from Agent Fairley. If nothing else though, Mason has a decent and loving relationship with his mother, even taking time out of beating Wade up to answer a phone call for her.
I've been meaning to call. I've been really busy.
What's your name? Mason.
Hi, Mrs. Mason.
Terrible person, but slightly less terrible son. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to Wade's former, with a capital F, best friend, Jack Sinclair. Given that Jack is a bounty hunter, he's already in a morally gray line of work, but if that wasn't enough to call him an outright bad person, betraying his best friend on 2 different levels definitely is. Not only does he bail on him in the bowling championship in favor of Susie, not to mention borderline kidnapping her parents in the meantime, he accepts the bounty for Wade's head and kidnaps him, with the intent of selling him to the buyer.
I was hoping for a little bit more of a fight, to be honest.
That definitely earns him the Greed Sinner medal without a doubt. To make matters worse, Jack has a bit of a sadistic side to him as well. He takes great pleasure in electrocuting Wade while he's in his cage, even when he's not trying to escape. We said Wanda was a bit of a bully before, but she's a straight up teacher's pet in comparison to Jack. Also, this guy runs away really slow for a bounty hunter. The silver medal of evil was a bit tough to decide, but we've decided to give it to Wade's deadbeat dad, Peter Whipple. Being that he abandoned Wade in a TJ Maxx as a young child for no other reason than to find himself on the bowling lanes, we already have enough reason to put him in the bottom category, even when he apologized for that behavior. Yeah, we aren't exactly buying it.
You're not a schmuck. You're my dad.
That's nice, Wade, but yes, he is. You'd be forgiven for thinking Pete might have some redeeming qualities to him, given his heart-to-heart with Wade and the fact that he at least had the decency to leave him in the midst of a TJ Maxx's incredible deals. But then he betrays his entire family again to extort Wade into giving up Knuckles to the former gun agents. Sure, he says this was to get out of debt, but Mason reveals that kidnapping Wanda and Wendy at gunpoint was Peter's idea. Forget deadbeat dad, child abandonment isn't even the worst thing this guy did. But finally, the gold medal of evil has to go to the overarching villain of the series, the Buyer. Once an associate of Dr. Robotnik, he was targeted by Gunn when they wanted to cut any and all ties with him. Robotnik's madness wasn't enough to get the Buyer out of the business, though. He was still more than prepared to sell his arsenal on the black market. What's more, he has quite the notorious reputation even among shady characters. If you cheat him out of a deal, he's known to kill you in pretty gruesome ways. And if it was just an accident, that doesn't change a thing.
Your only reward will be your lives.
In the final battle, the Buyer manages to drain all of Knuckles' power temporarily, only being defeated by the legendary Flames of Disaster just in the nick of time. There's no deep motivation here. The Buyer is just an amoral criminal who cares about nothing but money and power. He's so sinister they dare not even speak his name.